The world once admired Ethan Cross, a billionaire known for his flawless suits, luxury cars, and the empire he built from scratch. But behind the grand offices and magazine covers, his life was slowly crumbling. A single wrong decision, a betrayal from someone he trusted most, and within days, he lost everything: his company, his reputation, and even his home. For the first time, Ethan found himself standing on the other side of wealth, alone, broke, and invisible to the world that once praised him. He rented a tiny apartment downtown, far from the skyline he used to own. His mornings that once began with meetings now started with silence. Until one day, a cleaning lady named Rosa walked into his life, a woman with tired eyes but a heart full of strength. She wasn't impressed by who he used to be. Instead, she saw the man he could still become. Her words were simple, her kindness effortless. But something about her presence began to change him. Ethan couldn't explain it. How a woman with so little could carry more peace than all his millions ever brought. Every day she worked quietly, humming old songs, leaving behind a warmth his cold apartment had never felt before. But one morning, Rosa said something that stopped him in his tracks, a truth that made him question everything he thought he knew about life, loss, and love. And that was the moment everything began to change. Ethan couldn't get Rosa's words out of his head. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find what really matters, she had said softly, as she wiped the dust from his empty shelves. He didn't understand why it hit him so hard. Maybe because, for the first time, someone wasn't pitying him or pretending. She spoke like she knew what it meant to start over, and that unsettled him. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan started noticing things about her. She arrived early every morning, rain or shine, humming the same old tune that echoed faintly through the hall. Her shoes were worn, her hands rough from work, yet her smile never faded. He began to wonder about her story. Why did someone like her, so patient, so wise, work as a cleaning lady? When he finally asked, she only said, "We all have our reasons, Mr. Cross. Some of us clean because it's our job, others because it helps us see life clearer." The more time they spent together, the more Ethan's old world felt like a distant dream. The boardrooms, the luxury, the applause, it all seemed shallow now. But just as he started to feel a strange peace, something unexpected happened. One evening he returned home to find Rosa's cleaning supplies left behind, and the apartment unusually quiet. On the counter lay a small note in her handwriting, a message that would soon uncover a truth Ethan was never prepared to face. Ethan stared at the note for a long time before unfolding it. The handwriting was neat but shaky, as if written in a rush. Asterisk, thank you for the kindness you didn't know you were giving. I have to take care of something from my past, but please don't look for me. Rosa, asterisk, his heart sank. The apartment felt colder, emptier than before. He didn't understand why her absence hurt so much. She was just his cleaning lady, wasn't she? Yet her quiet presence had become the only light in his gray days. For the next few days, Ethan tried to distract himself, but every corner of the apartment reminded him of her. The way she folded the towels, how she left the window slightly open for the morning breeze. Even the faint scent of lemon soap lingered like a memory that refused to fade. He started digging through small details, hoping to find a clue. That's when he discovered something odd, a photograph tucked under the cleaning cloths. It showed Rosa with a little boy, standing in front of a large mansion that looked eerily familiar. The mansion wasn't just any house. It was one of Ethan's old properties, the one he had lost when his empire collapsed. Questions flooded his mind. Was Rosa connected to his downfall somehow? Or was it just fate pulling two broken lives into the same storm? The answers seemed close. Yet the silence she left behind only deepened the mystery surrounding her. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. The photograph kept replaying in his mind. Rosa, smiling faintly beside that mansion he once owned. He felt a mix of confusion and betrayal. Why would she have a picture taken there? The next morning, he made a decision he hadn't made in months. He would go back. The mansion had been auctioned off after his company's collapse, and he hadn't set foot near it since. But something inside told him that the answers he was searching for were waiting there. When he arrived, the sight hit him hard. The grand gates were rusted, the garden overgrown. It was like seeing a ghost from his past. As he walked up the cracked driveway, he noticed a small car parked outside, one he recognized instantly. It was Rosa's. His heart pounded as he approached the front door, unsure of what he'd find on the other side. Voices echoed faintly from within. He pushed the door open and froze. Rosa was there, kneeling beside the same little boy from the photograph. The child turned, and for a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. The boy's eyes, those sharp blue eyes, were his late brother's. Memories rushed back, and the pieces started to fit together. Rosa looked up, startled to see him. There was fear in her eyes, but also something else, regret. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan stood silent, his world tilting again. Realizing this was no coincidence at all, Ethan's breath caught in his throat as Rosa slowly stood, shielding the little boy behind her. The silence between them felt heavy, filled with unspoken truths. "You know my brother?" he finally asked, his voice unsteady. Rosa hesitated before nodding. "I didn't just know him," she said softly. "I worked for him. Before he passed, he asked me to protect what was left of your family. Her words hit Ethan like a wave. His brother's death had been sudden, or at least that's what he'd been told. Now, everything he believed about that tragedy began to crumble. He glanced again at the boy, realizing just how much he resembled his brother. "Who is he?" Ethan asked, his voice cracking. Rosa took a step closer, her eyes glassy. "He's your nephew," she whispered. "Your brother's son, the one they told you never existed." Ethan's world spun. The empire he'd lost, the betrayal that ruined him, had it all been tied to this secret? Before he could ask more, headlights flared outside the mansion. Rosa's face went pale. "They found us," she said, grabbing the boy's hand. Ethan turned toward the window, spotting 2 dark cars pulling up the driveway. Men stepping out. The same faces that once surrounded him in boardrooms and meetings. The very people who'd destroyed him died in that moment. Ethan understood. Rosa hadn't just been cleaning his apartment, she'd been cleaning up the mess left behind by his past. And now, the past was at his door. Ethan's pulse raced as the men advanced toward the mansion. Rosa pulled the boy close, whispering for him to stay hidden. Ethan finally saw the truth. She hadn't betrayed him. She'd been protecting his family all along. The men at the door were his former business partners, the ones who'd turned against him when his empire fell. They'd stolen everything, using his brother's death to cover their tracks. And now, they were here to finish what they started. He stepped forward. No longer the broken man who'd lost everything, but someone ready to fight for what mattered. "You already took my company," he shouted, "but you won't take what's left of my family." The men froze, shocked to see him standing there. Rosa moved beside him, her eyes steady. "Your brother knew this day would come," she said quietly. "That's why he left everything, the truth." "The proof with me?" From her coat, she pulled out a small flash drive, one that held records of every deal, every forged signature, every lie. One of the men lunged, but Ethan blocked him. Years of anger and loss giving him strength he didn't know he had. The noise drew the attention of the police. Rosa had called them before Ethan arrived. Within minutes, sirens echoed through the night, and the men were taken away. As the chaos faded, Rosa handed Ethan the flash drive. "Your brother wanted you to rebuild, not your fortune, but your purpose." Ethan looked at her, realizing that losing everything had led him exactly where he was meant to be. But as they turned to leave, the boy tugged on Rosa's sleeve and whispered, "Mom, are we safe now?" Ethan froze. One last truth he hadn't seen coming. Ethan turned to Rosa, his breath catching as her son's words sank in. "Mom," he whispered, stunned. Rosa looked away, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I didn't tell you everything," she said softly. "After your brother died, he made me promise to keep his son safe. We grew close before he passed. I was too afraid to face you, afraid you'd see me as part of the lies that ruined you." Ethan stood silent, the weight of years finally lifting as understanding replaced anger. She hadn't been part of his loss, she had carried his brother's last hope alone. He knelt beside the boy, seeing the familiar eyes that once belonged to his brother. "You look just like him," Ethan said gently. The boy smiled shyly, holding his mother's hand. For the first time in years, Ethan felt peace, not the kind built on power or money, but the quiet kind that comes from forgiveness. Weeks later, Ethan cleared out his old office, not to rebuild his empire but to start something new, a foundation helping families who'd lost everything, just like he once had. Rosa worked beside him, and together they created something honest and real, standing on the rooftop of his rebuilt life. Ethan watched the city lights and whispered, "Maybe losing everything was how I found what truly matters." And for the first time in a long time, the man who had once lost it all finally felt whole again, all because of the cleaning lady who changed his life.